What is up, my cutouts? Cardboard Ninja here, coming at you with the balance changes and other changes that are coming in the new season. They say other changes, but in reality, it's all balance changes. None of it is good. Remember back a couple videos ago when I said, hey now, they're going to make these changes, right? So they're saying, we're not going to change much, but they're going to make them and they're coming. They're coming. Balance changes. All of this stuff is supposed to drop next week. Next week, this is coming. So let's read what's coming. They're saying that for our convenience, they've highlighted previously unannounced changes, i.e. these are all previously announced changes, except for, no, everything in white. Everything in white is previously announced. Blue stuff is new, supposedly. These are balance changes due to the energy supply. As you know, cabins are getting changed. The ones that are medium, rare, and epic are getting nerfed because they are losing 0.5 energy for no reason. Meanwhile, light cabins are getting buffed, and heavy cabins of those rarities are getting buffed because you're supposed to double it, not, double it +1. So heavy legendary cabins like the cohort are actually ending up in a better spot than they are now. However, epic medium cabins, all of them, are getting nerfed, as are the rare cabins. And of course, light cabins are coming out on top, as they always do, because they love them some light cabins. In an effort to pay off that 1 energy deficit, they're buffing these medium cabins because, well, they want you to have enough mass and tonnage to use a heavier generator just so you can have the same effect that you have now. But wait a minute, Cardboard Ninja, hold on a second, you might ask. What happens if I'm using the photon already, but I'm also already using a legendary generator or a relic generator like the Odin at the same time? So I'm already using the Odin and I'm already using the photon. That additional mass limit, that's for you right in your pocket because there is no way to get more energy. You're just losing 1/2 of 1 point of 1 energy in the current system. In the future system, it's going to be 1 energy. You're losing an energy. So yes, that is just a straight up nerf to epic and rare cabins, simply because there's no way to recoup that energy if you're already using the Odin with it. The Odin energy is going to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 2. In other words, the rarity and the mass dictates how much energy you get. The Apollo, going up to 9 energy, now just stomps the Thor. It just takes its big old boot, stomps it. The bootstrap now stomps the generator, just stomps it, and the PU in charge stomps the Ampere. I'm sorry, I meant gas gen. But anyway, yeah, it just stomps it. You might look at this and say, wait a minute, hold on, but these things are heavier, their power score is greater, blah, blah, blah. Look, it's always been a fight for more energy. This is the reason why people go to this. The reason why people go to the Odin is because they need that energy. Duh. Now, well, on each tier you have a clear winner, usually. Except for the Big G, which is a clear, well, I'm not going to call it a loser. Power score is coming down on all of the things that take no energy. Weapon changes, all of these have been listed before, but these are all buffs. The Enlightened Barrier in the Akari and the Yangwang will, well, the Yangwang is not a buff, but it actually does deserve its own bullet point now for whatever reason it didn't have one before. But all of these are coming down in energy, losing 1/2 of 1 point of energy. Enlightenment should be free, but it's not. The Yangwang, I'm sorry, the Boar, the Buzzsaw, the Lacerator, this is new, and it's all a nerf. They're increasing the energy cost of the Boar, Buzzsaw, and Lacerator by under the current system 0.5, and the new system will be 1. The Dunhorse Razorback, they're bringing it down to 1 point of energy. The Oculus, 1 point of energy. The Discharger, 1 point of energy, because they don't know what they're doing. In reality, the Dunhorse and Razorback are not used by anyone under any circumstances, and at 1 point of energy, they will continue to not be used because they're up against the Hardcore, and they are up against the Hot Red. The Oculus is a decent radar. I guess at 1 energy it's okay. The KA-1 Discharger, they're nerfing it, and they're also reducing its energy cost by 1. Just so we're clear, nobody uses the KA-1 Discharger. We've had this conversation multiple times in chat. Found out, by the way, that the KA-1 Discharger is currently bugged and actually provides somewhere in the neighborhood of 19% to reload speed. So if they're reducing it from air quotes 15 to air quotes 10, and they find out that the numbers are wrong, not only are they reducing, basically this is like a 50% nerf, the huge nerf to the Discharger, if they actually set it down to 10%. But if they don't set it down to 10% and they're using whatever crazy formula they're using and it stays higher than 10%, which is what it is right now, because it's higher than 15%, it's 19%, it's 4% higher than the listed value, then okay, maybe. But if they're nerfing it all the way down to 10%, this is going to be completely and totally useless. Again, continuing to be so. The Yeti energy goes up because it's too strong. Omamori energy goes up because it's too strong. The Aviator goes down. The Blastoff stays at 2, but the boost is increased by 21%. I don't know what that is because they never told us the actual amount that is, but Blastoff's more bang for your buck. Hermes energy cost increased, boost increased by a significant sum, and the amount that affects the cockpit purse increased to 25%. So if you're running 2 Hermes, you should be able to get to the maximum stacks, whereas if you're running a Hermes and a Blastoff, you still run just shy. Argus and Interceptor, they could go down to 1 energy, but the Interceptor should be 0, and it should limit you to only having, not Interceptor, sorry, the Argus. The Argus should go down to 0 and limit you only having 1, because people are still not going to use these. The R1 Breeze now consumes 1 point of energy, power score reduced. Great, R2 Chill consumes 1 energy, so they're having the current energy cost, but they're also reducing the efficiency by 10%, which is a huge nerf, because they are buffing the Iron Seal to have double the efficiency of the R2 Chill for 2 energy, which means that there's no longer any reason to use the R2 Chill. Maybe after fusions, there may be an edge case where you might want to fuse R2 Chill, but this is a normalization that sucks in general. The CS Tamir now consumes 1 point of energy instead of 2 as well. For some reason, the Shiver also absent. Additional balance changes. These are all decent changes. In my opinion. Large wheel, basically it's a massive, not a massive, but across a large number of wheels, durability goes up. This is a pretty great effect for the large wheel, as you never see it, and its durability is not consummate to its size at all. I don't know why they're making the Array have more base hit points than the APC wheel. This is a massive buff to the Array, by the way. 45 hit point increase to the Array, while only a 15 hit point increase to the APC wheel. If you were to compare these two wheels now, even though I often call them the same wheel, I would say they're still the same wheel. They're the same wheel. It's 15 points of durability difference, except this time it errs to the side of the Array. The same wheel. Sabbath, huge nerf. For those of us who use the Sabbath, you know that it acts as a second engine. It stacks up additional bonuses based on the number of shots you take. This is at 0.3 seconds between each charge it can generate now. They're increasing it to 0.5. Doesn't sound like much, but if you do math, and you're a fan of math, you know that 2 times 0.3 is 0.6. So a 100% increase to the perk stacking delay would be 0.6. It's at 0.5. That's a pretty big jump. I think that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 80% increase to that duration, or to that delay. So will that make that big of a difference in combat? We'll see. But that is a nerf that continues to the Meat Grinder buff, added cryogenic resistances and additional weld points. Incinerator. This is the biggest nerf in these patch notes. Huge effing nerf. Huge nerf. Insane nerf, actually. This makes incinerators useless. That's how big of a nerf this is. Fire puddle damage reduced from 5 to 2.5. Irrelevant. Doesn't matter. That's not why you're actually using incinerators. Projectile blast damage increased from 30 to 120. They're trying to make it so you have to hit them. Added part heating from the projectile explosion. By the way, in case you're wondering, there was no part heating from the projectile explosion before. It just applied the standard debuff, but it increases the part heat by 25%, meaning if you land your incinerator shot on your opponent, you immediately generate 25% heat. Great. Here's the deal. Part heating rate reduced from 20% per second to 5% per second. Now, I was going to make a YouTube video on this because of the fact that I had finally identified all of the heating rates of things. The incinerator was, I don't want to call it king, but basically the king of heating in this game. As it says, its heating rate was 20% per second. It ticks 2 times a second. This means that each damage tick of the incinerator applied 10% heat. That meant that it contained enough heat within it over its full duration to give someone 100% heat 2 times. It basically gave you 200% heat, assuming you stayed in the fire puddle. This changes it from 10% per tick to 2.5% per tick. This means that if you stay in the incinerator puddle for the entire duration of the puddle, the whole duration, you heat 25%. Means if you get hit directly with the incinerator, you take 25%, and then over friggin' 20 seconds, or sorry, over however long it is, I think it's 20 seconds, you get another 25% heat. This means that at most you come out with 50% heat. Under the current system, to get someone to 100% heat, they only need to spend 5 seconds in the puddle. Under the new system, to get to 100% heat, they need to spend 40 seconds in the puddle. Rest in peace, Incinerator. It's dead. That's fucking instant dead. Instant dead. And by the way, I was including the direct hits. You would have to get 2 direct hits and wait fucking 40 seconds to get someone to full heat. Mind you, if you're launching 2 incinerators and you hit them at the same time, which is what is assumed, it's going to take at least 2 sets of that. It's ridiculous. Massive, massive nerf. Rest in peace, Incinerator. It's ridiculous. Now, just so we're on the same page, this means that the Incinerator now heats at a slower rate than the Jotun cools. The Jotun cools at around 6.5% per second, whereas the Incinerator now heats for 5% per second. It's ridiculous. They are equally useless. They made them both dog shit. The Jotun projectile blast damage increased again from 60 to 150 points. They're like, we want you to hit for Jotun damage, and added part freezing from the projectile 25%. Basically, they're trying to make it so the Jotun and the Incinerator, you hit your targets with them, and that's what generates the heat, but that's not why the F you use them. That's never been the reason. The Incinerator and the Jotun has always been about area denial. Now, you can just drive through the puddles. This does nothing. This is insane. 2.5% per tick. You can drive right through that shit. It doesn't do anything. There's nothing to fear from the Incinerator or the Jotun any longer. Mind you, just so to keep this on the same wavelength and the same page, weapons like the Mandrake and the Porcupine, the heating value that they gave was also ass. Like extraordinarily low. Like really, really, really low. The only weapon that actually had a decent heat over time was the Incinerator, and they are gutting it for no reason in this patch. No one asked for this. But Incinerator fucking destroyed. Destroyed. That's going to go in the title of this YouTube video, because I want people to know the Incinerator is getting fucked. If ever, like, there's some like medium cabins getting fucked, melee's getting fucked. Incinerator removed from the game. Holy shit. Continuing on, the Cerberus cabin. It's just the melee cabin. They're nerfing it. Apparently the hitbox / hurtbox reaches too far, and it can actually hit things more than one structural cell thick. They're nerfing it, and they're reducing the damage. The Tusk currently has a permanent melee damage bonus. It's basically the equivalent of making the Tusk a melee weapon, like the Shiv, or not the Shiv. That's a damn wheel. God damn it. like the Hatchet. Basically, hatchets give you a melee damage bonus, and the reason why is because they're melee weapons. So the Tusk is a melee weapon currently. They're removing it. The Tusk is just a cabin. Fuck that. All of your ram damage bonus only comes from your perk. No more bonus for just being a Tusk. That's a massive nerf. Ram damage resistance reduced from 75 to 60%. A massive nerf. This is a huge nerf to the Tusk. Like, enough. No, that is a massive nerf, because that isn't just a 15% damage. Remember, the idea is that your collision damage was your weapon. They're basically saying the average damage minute for the Cerberus and Tusk exceeds. It's too much. We believe these cabins should not be that efficient and deal damage, and their built-in weapons cannot be destroyed, and they don't consume energy. So they're just making them bad. The Cerberus, not so much. That's a nerf. True, yeah. But that's such a crippling nerf to the Tusk. I don't know why they would do that. So, Tusk builds, I believe, already are rocking either the Omamori or the Averter, and if they aren't, they have to now. Because this is such a crippling nerf. Ram resistance is such a crippling nerf. That's so much damage. Hold on. Let's do the math. Normally you take 25% damage. Normally. So now, let's just do the math. You're going to take 40% damage? Oh my god. That's such a difference. That is so much more damage. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do the quick math for you just to do the percentage of a nerf that is, but it's a huge nerf. Continuing on, MG13 Equalizer and MG14 Arbiter have gotten a massive buff. The perk, once it's charged, fully charged, but not apparently as you charge up. I don't know why you have to fully charge to it. But fully charged, it does not instantly reset when you release the button. You have 2.45 seconds. So now you can tap fire to maintain your perk. Neat. Cyclone, same thing, but over 1.5 seconds. Though the interesting thing is the Cyclone's perk, it doesn't have a user interface indicator as it charges up, right? So like if you look at the Cyclone, it doesn't have a little bar that fills up as you fire. So you actually don't know when you're fully charged. They should add that. Continuing on, Retcher, massive buff. Rotation speed increased by 67%. These things now swivel on a dime. So now they work very similarly to the Thresher and the Impulse. Huge buff, probably because of the nerfs that came in recently, which I'll talk about in a second, because those are not weapon nerfs. They're part nerfs. Yeah, all those things, the reason why all these weapons don't work, everyone's looking at their builds and they're like, hey, these weapons just all don't work as well as they used to. It is not the weapons that were changed. It was the hitbox of all parts. Continuing on, I guess I covered that just now. Skatey, I said this weapon sucked. I've got a clanmate that thinks it's awesome. They agreed with me. The devs agree with me. It sucks. The speed of the perk's negative effect is increased by 57%. So, i.e., the dealing up to 25% less damage, which is what the Skatey's actual perk is, will stack faster. 57% faster, which is ridiculous. In other words, it wasn't stacking high enough fast enough. It was kind of just sucking. And the part freezing speed increased by 47%. So once again, I was going to create a video covering heating and cooling, and I didn't do it, and thankfully I didn't because these numbers are all in flux. The Skatey currently in the game heats at 0.9% per tick. So we're getting 0.9, and we're increasing it by 1.47. So it is now, after the patch, going to cool at a rate of 1.323 cooling per shot. There you go. There's your answer. 1.323% per shot is what the Skatey is going to do in future. You might be wondering, wait a minute, how does it compare to fire weapons? Very favorably. This means that the Skatey will cool things almost faster per bullet than the Firebug heats. The Firebug heats at 0.75% heat per shot. This is going to cool at 1.3. So the Skatey is going to be a massive cooling effect, be a massive cooler. But in reality, I mean, they said it right here. Commentary: low efficiency of the Frost Cannon. It's just not good. Negative effects from the perk and freezing mechanics accumulate too slowly, so they were of little use. It's true. They're buffing the Skatey. Scorpion buff. Rate of the projectile's damage loss as parts are penetrated reduced by 12%. There's currently a fusion incoming, or ongoing, I forget, that is going to be projectile over-penetration damage retention. This is contrary to most God fusions on weapons, because the Scorpion, just like Tsunami, just like other cannons, usually you want reload rate. So this replaces the reload rate in the fusion for maintaining projectile damage as it passes through parts, and it's receiving a buff to that in this next patch. Also, rotation rate increased 60%. Spread increased while turning, reduced by 25%. They're bringing it back. They're buffing. They're buffing the shit of the Scorpion. Will it matter? Not really. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. Here's the deal. A lot of us use baby mode. We use bind, turning to camera, etc. This is going to dramatically affect that. If you're using Scorpions with bind, turning to camera, this will help you a lot. A lot. Like ridiculously a lot. If you're fully, like full-blown awesome, amazing Scorpion player from the prehistoric Cambrian era, this will not affect you. You're not using baby mode in the first place. You already turn your build with Q and E, you already don't have your weapons locked to your vision. This is irrelevant to you. But if you're using baby mode, this is an incredible buff to baby mode. Baby mode Scorps has just gotten a lot stronger. That's a lot stronger. Phobos Nerf. Phobos was my favorite co-driver, for great reasons. No matter what, this is a huge nerf. There's only 4 cabins in the game that this is not a nerf for, and only 1 cabin in the game. This is a minor, teensy tiny, incremental, won't even notice it buff for. The nitrous oxide system skill now increases the speed of the armored vehicle by 5% instead of by 5 kilometers an hour. So 5% means that instead of getting 5 kilometers an hour off of your heavy cabins, so for example, if you're using a heavy cabin with 60 kilometers an hour, instead of going to 65, you're only going to gain 5%. 5% of 60 is like 2.3 or something like that. Yes, I'm busting out the calculator. 3. It's 3 kilometers an hour. So you're losing 2 kilometers an hour of top speed on heavy cabins, and this will slide between 3 to 5 depending on your actual top speed. It'll be 5.01 or 5.05 or something like that for the fastest cabin in the game that has 105 kilometers an hour. Ram damage mechanics. Reduced the influence of speed on ram damage and penetration depth. In other words, second nerf to the Tusk. If you thought those previous Tusk nerfs were, pretty bad, removing that, no. The faster you go, fuck that. You're doing too much damage. You're going too far, you're going too deep. So, they nerfed it. We've implemented additional minor changes to the settings of the new ram damage mechanics after colliding statistics from live servers. In other words, they watch people Tusk boost around and have fun, and they can't have that shit. You're having too much fun, rammers, and so they're nerfing the Tusk into the ground again. As they say, for all these balance changes are planned to be implemented in the new season next week. We would like to remind you that up until the time of the update's release, certain changes may not make it into the game. That's a lie. Another interesting announcement related to the new update is coming this week. Stay tuned. So you hear that? I have been banging out fucking content apparently recently because I don't have a choice. These fucks are making me bang out content because they keep bringing you guys bad news. Remember, before you kill me, remember 2 things. 1, I just bring you this news. I'm not making this up. They're doing it. I'm just a messenger. And 2, if you strike me down now, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Remember those things. Remember those things, chat. All right, guys. Well, what do you guys think of the changes? I think that the nerf to the Incinerator, a.k.a. the removal of the Incinerator from the game, sucks fucking dog shit donkey ass. What in the goddamn fuck? No longer viable for CW. Totally worthless. Wow. Just wow. Nerfing the Tusk into the ground, reducing its damage, reducing its resistance to its own collision damage, and then also changing damage mechanics in general so you can't pin as deep. Wow. Just fucking wow. The rest of the buffs, minor. Changes to the energy are coming with this at the same time. They're doing this at the same time so they can keep your mouth shut, by the way. Don't fall for that. Don't keep your mouth shut. You go and you bitch. You bitch on forums. You make memes. You make those memes, chat. Go to the forums and make a meme. Show them. Make a Tusk meme where pre-patch, post-patch. The pre-patch is like a big old Oscar Mayer wiener dog and it's smiling, and post-patch make it like a limp one that's frowning or some shit. You guys know the memes. You know what you're doing. You know how to meme with the best of them. Meme this shit up while you can, because holy shit, these nerfs are donkulous. The nerfs are bad. The changes to energy, nerfing the medium epics and medium specials, not necessarily good. The buffs to heavy cabins, not really necessary, but I mean, buffing the cohort. By the way, just so you know, just so we're on the same page, I told you these energy changes were going to come before this fucking next, before the Ravager season pass. 1, 2, and this is the other thing that's very important. The new heavy cabin that's coming out is a legendary heavy cabin. Remember that. New legendary heavy cabin. So what does that matter? Where is it? Right here. Nope. Damn it. Stupid tables. New legendary heavy cabin. So they're making that differentiation between the Humpback and the new one that's coming out. It's basically the Humpback, but with 1 more energy. I wonder why they're doing that. So Yeah, they're doing a lot of things, a lot of shady shit. I highly expect a lot of people to be bitching. So don't just bitch in my comment section, but do. I could use the engagement. It's good for me. It's the views, do that. But also, bitch at forums, make memes, shit on these people. This is a massive, massive change, and they're trying to hide a lot of stuff underneath it because they don't think you'll see it, but I see it. Pepperidge Farms remembers. Cardboard Ninja sees it. All right, guys, I've taken way too much of your time. I'm going to let you get back to your day. Good luck out there. Peace.